Hi, Nick Dogle, North State Law. We safeguard your professional license so you can get back to business. Before we get started, I'd like you to go ahead and hit the subscribe button. That'll help you get new episodes that come out from North State Law's YouTube channel. Also, if you like the video, hit the like button. That way other people know that, hey, this might actually be a good video that's useful for them and their business. So let's get right down to it. So today we're going to talk about the top 3 most common complaints against licensed general contractors in the great state of North Carolina. Now, full disclosure on this, my office did reach out to the GC board in North Carolina and requested annual reporting that lays out the amount of complaints, things of that nature. We did get a copy of it. It does not list the types of complaints. It just kind of lays out how many complaints they've had over a set period of time. We requested everything from 2024, which they provided to us because it is public record. But I'm having to go by the most common complaints that myself and my staff have seen. And one of the first cases in the professional licensing realm that I had, and this is back in 2017, was a GC case. And that one was involving an unlicensed contractor. So I've been practicing law since 2008. First one I had that was related, or one of the first ones I'd had that was related to any sort of licensing board was GC Board 2017. And then I opened my firm 2019. So I'm going from that kind of memory bank and reviewing some cases that I've had probably in the last 12 months or so. So when I talk about 3 most common types of complaints, I'm referring to the ones that myself and my staff have seen, not having to do with the board or anything along those lines, just for clarification purposes. So one of them that I've seen most common is the classic renting your GC license, right? So that is a big no-no that can get you in very, very, very hot water with the GC board, and there's a possibility you'd be looking at suspension, and that's obviously something you want to avoid. When you receive notice that there's a complaint, it is titled Notice of the Filing of a Complaint Against a Licensee. And there's an affidavit attached to it. It's supposed to be a summary of charges. And I'll be honest, I would say a lot of the times the summary of charges don't really paint you a very clear picture of what the allegations are. They'll have usually a code, an administrative code and or a statute that you're supposedly have violated. A lot of times it's going to be North Carolina General Statute 87-11. Because that's going to have like the main violations, your fraud, your deceit, your misconduct, kind of things like that. Incompetency is another one. There's not a ton in there under 87-11 where it lays out the types of allegations against licensees. Now, there are some other stuff in the administrative code that they can kind of pick from, but in my experience, the most common ones are under 87-11. Now, with the notice of the allegations, you're going to have some sort of narrative attached with it. And sometimes the narrative is pretty dense. And those are typically the ones where a homeowner is filing the complaint and they attach like pages upon pages. I would say most of the time it's pretty plain Jane, and there's really not a lot to what the allegations are. So not to get off track too much, but that just wanted to make sure everybody had a frame of reference as far as like what you're looking at when you receive a complaint. And I hope anybody watching this video never receives a complaint, but just in case you do, I hope you have a frame of reference as far as what you're looking at there. Now, going back to what we were talking about earlier regarding renting of the license to somebody that's not licensed themselves as a GC. So what that typically looks like is I've seen it the most where a sub pulls the permit either under their license for the job that the licensed general contractor has the contract with, or the individual that's the sub that has their own company that's not licensed pulls the permit under the licensee's company's name. So there's going to be the attachment of the unlicensed person's name to the licensed entity, and that's a dead giveaway a lot of times. I've seen permitting departments file, I don't know how many complaints. That's a pretty common one. And I talk about the most common types of individuals that file complaints against GC boards. Hint, permitting department people are one of those. So check out that other video for more info. But so one of the best ways to avoid any sort of confusion or any sort of misunderstanding or anything along those lines as far as quote unquote renting your license is, if you are, you want to make sure the money that, and a lot of times if you're doing a new build or you're doing a high renovation, you're going to have draws from the bank, right? Well, the draws from the bank got to go to your company, and then they'll cipher their way on down to the subs for labor and materials and things like that. So really good record keeping. Invoices need to come from your business, and then you'll get invoices from the subs that you can pay, and you'll show the receipts coming from your bank accounts down to the subs. And then you also want to make sure, like I said before, all the permits are pulled by you, like the building permit is pulled by you. The thing with, and I'll get to the building permit stuff in a second, because that's another kind of biggie. You also want to make sure that you are supervising, right? Like that's the whole purpose of, you being a licensed general contractor. That doesn't necessarily mean you got to be there every single day. You do need to be there weekly, and most importantly, you have to be available, and you have to have your pulse on the job and know what's going on. Having quality, construction management software is pretty helpful. Like I have law firm management software, helps me keep track of all my cases, oversee employees, kind of things like that. So I do know for a fact that they have multiple different general contracting type software out there to help you run your jobs. So that one's going to be the biggie. So you got to make sure that you're in compliance there, because you don't want to fall afoul of the licensing board. And what they use is under that 8711, but it goes into 8711 E2 is the statute. And I'm going to have every statute or code that I mentioned is going to be in the description, so you can check it out yourself. But 87 E2 talks about gross negligence, incompetency, or misconduct in the practice of general contracting. So pretty vague, right? Like I'm a pretty inventive guy. I can come up with a lot of different definitions for misconduct. I can come up with a lot of definitions for gross negligence and incompetency too. But I looked in to see where misconduct is defined, and it's actually defined under one of the administrative codes for the GC board. So 21 NCAC 12A.0201 subsection 3 defines misconduct, and it says as defined in 8711. So it refers back to that general statute that I just mentioned. And it specifically talks about allowing an unlicensed person or entity to use a license or examination credential on an undertaking where a license is required. Pretty clear cut, right? And we talked about the ways to kind of avoid that, do everything that is necessary to properly supervise the job, make sure there's no confusion as far as who's paying what bills. You're going to pay your subs from the money that's coming down from the bank, so to speak, or somebody's flush with cash and they're paying you straight cash, on draws themselves. Make sure it's in your account. Make sure all the money for whatever invoices are paid by you, and you get receipts and you get all that good stuff. So just cover your rear end, right? So the next one, as I alluded to, is not pulling permits. Not pulling permits is another biggie. It gets people in trouble pretty regular, to be honest with you. The biggest thing with this one that I've seen is you've got to be in compliance with North Carolina General Statute 160D it is 1110. So 160D-1110. Now that's not a North Carolina General Contractors statute, because they're under Chapter 87. But so they're not going to be able to say, well, you violated 160D-1110. But what they are going to say is, hey, you violated 160D-1110, therefore we feel like that is misconduct, and that's going to be enforceable under that general statute for the GC board, and so we'll be able to get you on that. The biggest thing is you've got your state building code. That's the 160D that I was talking about. That requires a building permits to be pulled for certain jobs. But you also have county and city requirements for building permits to be pulled. And that's where I've seen people get tripped up the most. Like if you've got somebody that doesn't care about their business and they're just fly-by-night operation, they're probably going to not pull any permits anywhere. But if you're serious about your business and your job, and you want to do good work and you want to do things the right way, you really have to make sure that you know the county and the city building department people. And you really need to know if you're starting a job in a different county that you're not used to, go down there, try to talk to people, look up the county building code yourself, see what, if any, county building permits need to be pulled, city as well, because I've seen people get dinged for that also. They didn't know, they didn't look up, they thought it was state, or they didn't realize things had changed. I've seen that happen. Like things change, like within 12 months of a client doing a previous job, they come back, they do a job in the same county. Well, now you have to pull a permit where you didn't 12 months prior. So that's a tough one, but you got to stay up to date on that sort of thing. So, and that's going to be enforceable under North Carolina General Statute 8711 under some of those catch-alls that I was talking about, those ambiguous type of wording that they have under there. So again, check that out in the description of the video. And then not putting your license number on contractor bids is another one. So that's gonna be a third one. That's probably just because the amount of contracts that are out there and the amount of contractors we have in North Carolina, that's probably gonna be the most prevalent one if I had to guess. But you have to, as a licensed general contractor in North Carolina, you have to put your license number on all contracts. So that's found in the administrative code. So again, it's not statutory, but it's in an administrative code, so it's required. 21 NCAC 12A.0501, and I'll just read it out. Subsection A, license numbers shall be included on all contracts and bids. So don't forget, contracts and bids. You got to put the license number on both of those. So those are going to be the top three that I've seen and my firm has seen. I hope that information was really helpful for you. If you've got any questions, check out the playlist that is dedicated for tips for general contractors. That's on North State Law's YouTube channel. You can also check out the blogs that are on northstatelawfirm.com's website. And if you still can't find what you're looking for in either one of those spots, then please give my office a call or text at 919-521-8810, and you can get a free 15-minute discovery call with a member of my staff. Keep building North Carolina. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for doing what you do. Appreciate it so much. Bye-bye.